Hello chess friends and welcome to the Art of Chess channel and welcome back to our 150 attack series. So in this series I'm going to show you a beautiful and effective way how to beat the Pirc defense, how to beat the modern defense, and in the continuation of the series we'll see also an effective way how to use the 150 attack methods in order to beat the King's Indian defense. So today we're studying a different line. Today we're starting this very popular line, this c6 b5 method by black. So black will launch an early flank attack on the queen side, and the most popular game in this approach was the famous Kasparov Immortal between Gennady Kasparov and Veselin Topalov, in which Gennady Kasparov faced the c6 b5 method by Veselin Topalov. But I have to really say something about this game. This game between Kasparov and Topalov was a slightly inaccurate move when it comes to opening theory. Especially in the game by Veselin Topalov, he had really some theoretical improvements that he could have applied. So in this video I'm going to show also the theoretical improvement for black, but I think there is still a great way how to even destroy this theoretical improvement by white by using the 150 attack method. So as I said, today's line will be c6 b5, where black is facing playing many times this early flank attack, and will stay eventually in some occasions with the king in the center. And I think this line bothers white many times, because many times we're launching a flank attack with h4 h5, and then black's king staying with a little bit longer with the center, and then we don't know where to attack anymore. So as I said, this will be now our study, and please also have if you have troubles with some other opening lines, check out our 150 attack from the beginning, because in this video we're only explaining this c6 b5 methods by black. So let's see now what was the theoretical inaccuracy by Veselin Topalov and how black can improve the game, but still we want to see, of course, how to destroy even this methods from white's perspective. So our first move is, of course, e4. We have d6 and now d4. The Pirc defense is on the board, knight to f6, and we have now knight to c3. So this will be the normal setup. So again, g6 with the preparation to play bishop to g7. But in this video, as we said, we want to cover this line c6 b5, and then eventually black is trying to launch a flank attack, or black is many times even after c6 b5 trying to castle queenside. So I'll explain, of course, what's all about. So after move g6, here we are going again into our 150 attack setup. We have explained this setup many times in our video, so please, as I said, please check the series from the beginning, because we're not going to explain again some methods that we have already talked about. Now in this video we're just studying this c6 b5 line. So bishop to e3 with the approach to play queen to d2, then trying to trade off the bishops here on h6, launching the flank attack h4 h5, then maybe getting the queen on the h file, and when black castles kingside to deliver checkmate on the h file. This is now the main goal of the 150 attack. So now black is going to with this bishop to g7 move, queen to d2. As we said, we want to play bishop to h6, and now black is playing the move c6. So we're starting now first this game between Kasparov and Topalov. So we're now in the game Kasparov Topalov, the Kasparov Immortal chess game. So here I wanted to show really how you can improve this theory even by black, because you don't have to play the move bishop to g7 immediately. You can play the c6 b5 method without playing the bishop, and actually black can also gain an extra tempo. But let's talk now to this game. Here Gennady Kasparov played this move f3, launching a flank attack g4 h4. We have b5, but Topalov knight to e2 by Gennady Kasparov, knight to d7, and now Gennady Kasparov with the move bishop to h6 forced now actually black to make a reaction. And actually what Gennady Kasparov was hoping for is that Veselin Topalov will castle kingside, and then he could launch his flank attack with h4 h5, as we have seen many times. But here Kasparov got challenged with this move bishop to h6, and after queen to h6 here we have bishop to b7, and after a couple of moves actually Topalov surprised here a little bit Kasparov and castled simply queenside here with the move a6, and he got out of the range. You see, he castled out of white's attack on the king side. So this was a good setup. The position here for black is perfectly fine, but actually, as I said, black doesn't have to play this game like this. Black can play the c6 idea with a great delay by the bishop. So black doesn't have to play the move bishop to g7 and lose an extra tempo. That's, I think, the beauty about this line. You see, after queen to d2 still we can launch the flank attack, and after f3 let's repeat again the Gennady Kasparov Topalov game, but without the move bishop to g7. Here after move knight to d7, bishop to h6 like Gennady Kasparov played. We have bishop to h6, queen to h6, and now we're playing e5, queenside castling. We have again maybe this idea, queen to e7. Let's see, knight to e2, e2 like Kasparov played, and now after bishop to b7, a6, queenside castling, we would reach actually the same position like in the Gennady Kasparov-Topalov game, but with an extra tempo for Topalov. So as I said, in my opinion, this will be a great position for black, and that's why I don't like this approach also by Gennady Kasparov against this Pirc defense by black. So in my opinion, there are better ways how to destroy the 150, how to destroy the Pirc defense or modern defense with the 150 attack. So we're playing now the perfect variation here from black's perspective. So we want to face now the best method that black is playing. Black is delaying the move bishop to g7. How we should play now against this types of ideas by black. So we should proceed with our normal idea. So the queen to d2. Now I can comes to move b5, but now we want to play bishop to d3. This is, in my opinion, one of the best ways how to beat the Pirc defense, because of course the serious threat is the move b4, and then when we play, let's see, b4, knight to e2, then we still have a protection of our e4 pawn. But the cool part also is that we have developed our light core bishop, and also the cool part is that we have gained an extra tempo against the pawn on b4. And the most important thing I think that we have to realize here is that actually an e5 move is here really great. That's also a great plan, because after d takes e5, d takes e5, we don't have to trade off the queens, because the bishop is here in the way. So the bishop is on the d file, so there is no threat that the queens could be off the board, and that's exactly what we don't want to get when we're playing the 150 attack. We don't want to get the queens off the board, because we want to attack, we want to be on the attacking side, and then you don't want to trade pieces when you're attacking. So as I said, you see, in my opinion, this move bishop to d3 is much better than this approach with the move f3 that we have seen by Gennady Kasparov against Topalov. In my opinion, it's simply a better method to beat the Pirc defense. So after move bishop to d3, your opponent could again try this Topalov idea. Let's again try this Topalov idea with the move e5, bishop to b7, a6. We have seen queen to d7 and queenside castling. So let's see now if this idea is working now in this types of structure. So after move knight to d7, my recommendation is to play knight to f3 instead of here f3, because knight to f3 is much more powerful, because we're threatening again the move e5. And in the continuation of the video, I'm going to explain you why this e5 is such an important move. What you could face maybe here in this position is a move knight to g4, attacking the bishop, but this lines we have studied in our first video, this knight to g4 methods. Here I wanted to show one of my games how this knight to g4 is actually not a special move. We're playing just here bishop to g5, bishop to g7. We're just again kicking away the knight, so the knight didn't gain anything. And as I said, our main goal is the move e5, e5 is really a breakthrough. As we said, after here my opponent tried a different idea. He tried b4, but I simply step back, knight to e2. We have knight to d5, and now I played this idea, bishop to h6, forcing the trades of bishops. Bishop takes h6, queen to h6, and now after d takes e5, you see d takes e5. But look at this now, the knight is not on f6. The queen will sneak in here on g7. Actually, this move queen to g7 would be possible if the knight would be on f6, because then rook to g8 would happen, and then the h7 is protected, so the queen has to step back. But now when the knight is deflected from the king side, now there is a huge threat of queen to g7. So my opponent tried e6, because many times we have seen also in the 150 attack this e6 as a brutal move. Then you have to take f takes e6, then something like, I don't know, knight to g5 is going to happen. Even bishop to g6 is a possibility, because after h takes g6 the rook could be hanging. So that's why my opponent tried e6. You see how dirty really this 150 attack can become. Now I simply castle queenside. My opponent tried queen to a5. I just improved here, and here after knight to c5 I played this idea, and from this point on the game is over. Here my opponent tried to trade off the bishop here, but now after knight to h7 the rook is hanging and the rook is trapped. So I won the game eventually. So this is not the point. As I said, I wanted to show you again that this knight to g4 idea is simply not a special thing. So here let's see this continuation. So you see black delayed the move bishop to g7, which is in my opinion perfectly fine. This is the move I think Topalov should have played in the beginning against Gennady Kasparov. So after move knight to f3, that's my recommendation. We're threatening the move e5. You have seen this move e5, it's really beautiful. Then e6, getting messed up pawn structure here on the king side. So that's why we want to see what is going to happen if our opponent is playing the move e5. And as we said, his main goal is this Topalov, let's call it really the Topalov approach, here to play queen to e7, bishop to b7, a6, and then castle queenside. So he's trying to castle out of the potential flank attack by white. So here in the continuation we have e5. Now my recommendation is to castle kingside. So it seems like a dubious idea because now the flank attack is not working, but actually you should not worry because we still can get a huge piece activity by playing after bishop to b7. We should now just undermine the pawn chain that black built in the center. So after d takes e5, now comes a very important move, rook to d1. And rook from f to d1 is much more accurate than rook from a to d1 because now you still have the opportunity to play with your bishop, for instance, on f1, where the bishop has still a great activity but gets also out of the potential attack of the knight on c5. So here in the continuation your opponent could try, let's see again, this Topalov approach with queenside castling. Now we have to play a4, and this is the move that breaks this whole concept of castling queenside. Now queenside castling will never, but really never, be a possibility again, because after something like b4 your opponent has to make reaction. Now we have knight to a2, and you see now the pawn is hanging. Your opponent could maybe here try to play the move a5 to protect the pawn, but now with c3 we're breaking still the small pawn chain. And as I said, here I think castling queenside would be simply a suicide method. This is simply not working anymore. In one game that I found in the database, knight to c5 was played, bishop to c5 is perfectly fine here. Don't worry now giving up the bishop here, because okay, maybe you don't like it to give up the bishop here in an early stage of the game, but we have to agree that now many of these pawns are getting a weakness. You see, we have here a takes b4. Now we're fixing our pawn structure here. Let's see, even if you try bishop to g7 to castle kingside, this is not working because first of all the queen gets kicked away, the b4 pawn is hanging, so it's, I think, a lost game here for black. Bishop to c4 could happen. Of course we have to first maybe protect our pawn. Knight to g5. So I really would not love to play now this game from black's perspective. So the evaluation here 2.5 for white. Really wild stuff. So as I said, here with the move c3, look at this. If black tries now this Topalov method that we have seen in the beginning to castle queenside, I think it's simply a strategically lost game here for black. So this is not working. So that's why I like more this approach, this let's go back to this knight to f3 method, because we're threatening always the move e5. And I think in the 150 attack we have seen many times also in our previous videos that the e5 is such a beautiful move that creates a breakthrough, that creates some dynamics, and you could have really fun by playing this move. So let's see now different ideas. So I've sorted out really here great games from the past played by top grandmasters. Again, let's see this delayed bishop to g7 move. So black is not playing this move bishop to g7, which is in my opinion the best way here to play the Pirc defense from black's perspective. So we're playing now again from black's perspective this move b5, bishop to d3, in my opinion, as I said, much more powerful than this move f3 here by white. So bishop to d3 protecting the e4 pawn. As we said, black is preparing again this Topalov structure with knight to d7, e5, a6, bishop to b7, queen to e7, and castling queenside. So now we're playing again knight to f3. As we said, knight to g4 is not working. Here queen to c7, and now kingside castling. And so don't bother anymore. It's not time and again to play this h4 h5 attack. Many times it would work, but we have seen then black is castling simply out of the attack. So here the continuation, bishop to g7 can be played now, and now we have to again play bishop to h6. We have kingside castling, so we're starting now when black is castling kingside, because black waited white to castle kingside, because then black knows that the flank attack h4 h5 wouldn't make any sense. So that's why castling kingside is perfectly fine for black. But now you see we should simply play knight to e2, and this is now a beautiful method that I want you really to memorize. When this flank attack is not working with h4 h5, then it's simply time to maneuver all of your pieces towards the king side. Look at this. This is a really beautiful gameplay by the top grandmaster Vasily. So he played here with the white pieces. We have c5, we have c3, so we're fixing just our central pawn structure here. Bishop to b7, and now knight to g3. So we maneuvered now the knight from c3 to g3, but still we have a great protection of the e4 pawn. And the cool part is that actually we have now a great attacking formation. Look at this knight e5 in the near future could maybe work. So as I said, this could be really a great formation. So here a6 was played. We have h3 preventing knight to g4. We have e5, which is in my opinion a good move here by black, because black is not allowing e5 by white, because in the near future rook to e1 could have happened, and then we have seen many times this e5 is a huge positional problem. Now Vasily So plays bishop to d5. We have c4 kicking away the bishop to c2, and here after move knight to c5 now comes a beautiful stunning tactic here by Vasily. So bishop to g7 was played, king to g7, and now knight to f5. Whenever your opponent has doesn't have any more the bishop on g7, this knight to f5 should be considered as a beautiful tactical motif. Because if you play now g takes f5, then you get queen to g5. Look how weird this position becomes, and now the knight on f6 is hanging, and it's game over here for black. So that's why black has to play king to g8 or king to h8. And now what here Vasily So should have played, but he didn't play it. Unfortunately, here queen to h6 is in my opinion a perfect move. Now something like knight to e8 has to be played, and now we should simply step back, knight to e3, and this is a good position because black has to weaken further the pawn structure with the move f6, and now with the move b3 we can break the pawn chain, and this could be really devastating in our position. Because even if you try c takes b3, look at this, c takes a takes b3, now b4 c4 is going to happen. We're going open here this files. The knights are controlling very important squares. This knight could maybe come here again on g4. f6 is weak, so as I said, even I don't know, maybe even knight to h2, f4 is working. So this could be also a great method to counterplay this types of structures. So the evaluation here is +1 for white. So as I said, maybe nothing special, but I think with this knight activity we could have really a comfortable game. So here I really didn't want to show you now the whole game, because in my opinion it was very important to recognize this move, knight to f5, as a really beautiful trap. I'm going to show you now really a beautiful, even more beautiful trap in the 150 attack that I've played many times. I'm not sure why everyone is falling for this. I played probably this trap, I don't know, 15 times, maybe in some blitz bullet games. Here after move bishop to d3, we have reached now this position where black has played b5 and is trying now to castle kingside. So now knight to d7, we're playing again this move bishop to h6. Black is going to castle kingside. We are trading off the bishops, and here after move a4, that's also a move that many times is perfectly fine, because again you're forcing your opponent to play the move b4. Now after move knight to e2, again we're trying this idea. We want to maneuver all of our pieces towards the kingside, but this method we're only doing when our opponent is castling kingside and we are castling kingside too. So here in the continuation, a5 could be played, now knight to g3, bishop to b7, and now e5. And this move, you see, it's really beautiful, because your opponent didn't battle for the e5 square. Now whenever you see that you have the possibility to play e5, now comes the stunning tactic, d takes e5, d takes e5, and now after move knight to d5, now comes knight to h5. And this move is winning immediately the game. This is something really worth to know. So that's why this maneuver, knight to c3, knight to e2, knight to g3, is very important to recognize. Now your opponent could maybe take, but now again this idea, queen to g5 is going to happen. Even if your opponent doesn't react, if he plays something like this, then queen to h6 is going to happen. There's now this threat of queen to g7 checkmate. If you take, then you get queen to h7 checkmate, so you have to make a reaction. So after move knight to h5, g takes h5, now we play this one, queen to g5, and again queen to h6. Now we're threatening checkmate, and your opponent has to give up now one of those bishops, one of these knights. We have e takes f6, knight to f6, and now even bishop to h7 is working, because after knight to h7 we have knight to g5 and it is simply game over. So really a stunning tactic. So as I said, after move knight to h5, black is immediately lost. The evaluation is +5. So this is a tactic that you have to know in the 150 attack. So when you maneuver the knight to g3, when you traded off the bishops here, now there is this beautiful attacking motif, e5, knight to h5. So you're winning games, I think, very easily with this beautiful tactic. So let's see now a different idea. Again, we have this setup. We're forcing black to castle kingside. So after kingside castling, we take. Now again a4. As we said, we want to play b4. We're not tolerating this queenside attack. We want this attack to be splashed. So that's why b4. Okay, it's a beautiful tempo by black, but now black gets exposed here on the queen side, because again after move knight to e2 we want to maneuver a knight on g3. So we have a5, knight to g3, and now black is playing, for instance, the correct move, e5. Is not allowing e5, which is now perfectly fine. Now we should play simply queen to g5, and queen to g5 is again a beautiful threat to play knight to f5, because if hx happens, then knight to f5, and black is going to get checkmated. So that's why you see even knight to e8 is not working. Queen is hanging. Even if you try something like knight to g8 to maybe trade off the queens, then again knight to f5 is working, and the king has to step back, and now we can play queen to d8, rook takes d8, and we can also take, I think, the pawn on d6, the pawn on f7 is hanging, knight to g5 is working, so we can also take out this pawn. So you see how bad this position for black already is. So this is now really something worth to study. If your opponent plays something like queen to c7 to get out of the range, then we can finally launch a flank attack with h4, now h5. Now look at this, knight to h5, and again black is getting destroyed. So as I said, here let's go back to this critical setup, and this is a setup that I think you have to repeat. So first of all, we're playing this move bishop to d3 in order to protect our e4 pawn after potential b4. So now we're waiting knight to d7. We're waiting black to play e5, but now we're forcing him, like in the famous Kasparov Topalov game, to now play kingside castling. Now in the previous Kasparov Topalov game, black castled queenside, but we have seen that we can break this method by playing the move a4. So now again bishop to g7, a4, knight to e2, a5, knight to g3, and now after move e5. Now this is the move that we have to memorize. In our previous analysis, we have seen after e5 and knight to h5 that black got destroyed. Now queen to g5 is a beautiful move. Black is facing many dark square problems, and I think this is a method that you can apply in order to win games very easily and very effectively against the Pirc or modern defense. So okay, I hope that you realize these ideas, and I hope that you understand the study. This is really something that I recommend you, because okay, you could maybe try this method in the Kasparov Topalov game. Let's see this position, but here after a3 that Kasparov played, we had queenside castling, queen to e7. Here after queenside castling, I don't think that this is a position that is so great for white, especially because of the fact that in many occasions even d5 is here a possibility for black to even open the center further. You see, even if you try d5 yourself, c5 could happen. So in my opinion, Kasparov played a really an immortal game. It's not the point about that, and as I said, I will cover the whole game because it was such a beautiful tactical game. But when it comes to opening theory, I think first of all, this delayed bishop to g7 move is something that black should always apply, but we have seen then we should meet these ideas with knight to bishop to d3, knight to f3, and then eventually with the move e5, or if black plays early b5, then we should undermine the queen side by playing the move a4. So okay, this is now our third study of the 150 attack. In the continuation of the series, we'll see also some other methods. Our next video will be this early a6 move, in which black is trying to stay with the king in the center through the whole game. This will be, I think, a very annoying method to face. So as I said, this will be also very important study of the 150 attack. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you want to see our previous analysis of the 150 attack, please check it out. Here's the link of our series. And if you want to see maybe something about the Queen's Gambit decline, check out our Queen's Gambit declines series from the beginning, part 1, part 2, and so on. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.